Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Podcast. Today is Tuesday, October 29th, 2019. Today I'm going to recap yesterday's Monday Night Football game between the Steelers and the Dolphins. Look back on last night's NBA and NHL slates. Look ahead to tonight. Guess the lines, week number 9 in the NFL. Pick game 6 of the World Series and my best bet of the day. Okay, we're going to start in the NFL. Monday Night Football. The Steelers get a much-needed 27-14 victory over the Miami Dolphins. They trailed 14-0 in this game. Then everybody was saying, oh, maybe the Dolphins might actually win the game. Not so fast. Pittsburgh scores 27 unanswered to get this important win to get within one game of 500. Miami drops to 0-7. Pittsburgh next week hosts the Colts. Miami next week hosts the Jets. So, should be an interesting week in the NFL, not with the games, but the trade deadline being today. I may or may not be doing a trade deadline recap podcast today. It depends on how much action we get and any big names move. If any big names get traded while recording this podcast, we'll break the news for you on this very fine edition of the Ultimate Sports Podcast. Okay, NBA. Some very interesting results from last night. A lot of blown leads, some surprises, some blowouts. The Knicks come from behind to beat the Bulls 105-98 to get their first win of the season. They're 1-3. Chicago's also 1-3. Bobby Portis had a career game off the bench. 28 points, 11 boards, 4 for 4 from three-point range against his former team. Kevin Knox off the bench had 14. R.J. Barrett, 19 points, 15 boards, and 5 assists. He was great. Julius Randle, 13 points, 14 boards, 5 assists. Mitchell Robinson, 10 points, 9 boards. Marcus Morris, 10 points, 5 boards. As the Knicks get a very much-needed first win of the season and take some pressure off their head coach a little bit. Moving on for Chicago, Wendell Carter Jr. had 20 and 10. Zach LaVine had 21. Lauri Markkanen had 18 with 6 boards off the bench. Thaddeus Young had 15. And the rest of their bench really didn't step up. And Thomas Satoransky had a poor game. And they were up by 18 in the second quarter. And then the Knicks just kept chipping back. And at one point they tied it. And then Bulls go on an 8-0 run because David Fizdale made some weird substitutions. And then he redeemed himself by putting back in Bobby Portis and Frank Ntilikina. And they end up coming back to win the game. 15-0 run the Knicks close the game out on. And the Bulls should really be ashamed of themselves for losing that game, especially being up 18 against an inferior opponent. Granted, it was on the road. But you could argue these two teams are even. I just was higher on the Bulls this year than the Knicks. I think I had the Bulls at 33 wins, and I think I had the Knicks at 27 wins. So I had them like 6 wins apart in terms of the standings. But the Knicks come out on top in this game for their first win of the season. Pistons over the Pacers, 96-94. Detroit is 2-2. Indiana's 0-3. That's a surprise. Christian Wood led the Pistons in scoring off the bench with 19 points and 12 boards, 3 for 3 from 3. Derrick Rose had 10. Bruce Brown had 11. And that was in terms of the bench. Luke Kennard started. He had 14. Andre Drummond had 18. Meanwhile, on the other side, Domantas Sabonis had 21 and 14. T.J. Warren had 19. Miles Turner had 16. Malcolm Brogdon had 15 with 11 assists. Raptors over to Magic 104-95. I forgot to give out my NBA play for yesterday, and this was it. The Raptors giving 5. That was just so easy because they're just a better team than Orlando. They're the reigning NBA champions with a good defense and a better head coach, although Steve Clifford's a darn good coach in his own right. Well, I should say the coach that has the better roster, not necessarily the better coach. Toronto 3-1, Orlando 1-2. Kyle Lowry, 26 points, 6 assists, 5 boards. Fred VanVleet, 14. Marcus Gasol, 10 and 10. OG Anunoby had 12 with 8 boards. Pascal Siakam had 24 points and 9 boards. And their bench didn't even do anything in that game. Well, for Orlando, Jonathan Isaac had 24 and 7 boards. DJ Augustine had 10. Evan Fournier had 18. Off the bench, Markelle Fultz had 13. And Terrence Ross had 11. 76ers over the Hawks, 105-103. Hawks had a big lead. They blew it, and Philly comes around and wins. That's a great win for Philadelphia. They're 3-0. Atlanta's 2-1. Joel Embiid, 36 points, 13 boards, 5 assists. Tobias Harris had 13, 5 boards, and 5 assists. Ben Simmons, 13, 6 and 6. Josh Richardson had 14. And their bench didn't even do anything. Meanwhile, for Atlanta, John Collins had 16 with 8 boards. He fouled out. That was a big loss for them down the stretch. DeAndre Hunter had 14 and 9. Trae Young had 25 with 9 assists. Off the bench, Bruno Fernando had 11. Bucks over the Cavaliers, 129-112. This was a competitive game at points, but Milwaukee pulled away late. They're 2-1. Cleveland's 1-2. Chris Middleton led the Bucks in scoring. He had 21. Giannis had 14-10 with 7 assists. George Hill had 19 off the bench. Pat Connaughton had 17 off the bench. Meanwhile, for Cleveland, Kevin Love had 15 points and 16 boards. C.D. Osman had 10. Tristan Thompson had 17 with 13 boards. Colin Sexton had 18. Darius Garland only had 9. Off the bench, Larry Nance Jr. had 15. And Jordan Clarkson had 17. Warriors over the Pelicans, 134-123 to get their first win of the season. They're 1-2. Pelicans are 0-4. Stephen Curry, 26 points and 11 assists. D'Angelo Russell had 24 points, 7 boards, and 8 assists, so a good all-around game for him. Except the only 9 for 21 from the field. Jordan Poole had 13. Glenn Robinson III had 12 at 9 boards. Draymond Green, they started at center. 16 points, 17 boards, and 10 assists. By the way, Golden State 23-0 now when Draymond Green records a triple-double in the regular season. And off the bench for the Warriors, Damon Lee had 23 points and 11 boards. Meanwhile, for the Pelicans, Brandon Ingram, 27 points, 10 boards, 6 assists. Lonzo Ball had 12 points and 9 assists. Josh Hart had 12 points off the bench. Jackson Hayes had 19. Nickeil Alexander-Walker had 15. And with 16 points, Kendrick Williams. What really set the Pelicans back in this one, Derek Favors didn't play due to right knee soreness, and Drew Holiday sat due to a left knee sprain. By the way, the Pelicans were giving 4.5 in this game, and as soon as it was announced that Drew Holiday was out, the line went 2 points in favor of Golden State. So, Drew Holiday, what I learned last night is that he's pretty darn valuable to the Pelicans, as well as obviously Zion and Derek Favors, and from a defensive standpoint, and somebody that could rebound the basketball. But Holiday's also worth 2 points to the point spread. So that's something very interesting that I didn't know. Rockets over the Thunder, 116-112. Rockets were down at halftime, came from behind the win. They're 2-1. Oklahoma City 1-3. James Harden, 40 points with 7 assists. Russell Westbrook had 21 points, 12 boards, 9 assists. So he was an assist shy of his first triple-double as a Rocket. Clint Capella, 15.7 boards. PJ Tucker, 17 points, 9 boards. Off the bench, Eric Gordon had 10 meanwhile for Oklahoma City. Chris Paul, 15 points, 5 boards, and 4 assists. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 22 points and 9 boards. Danilo Gallinari, 17 points, 5 boards off the bench. And Nerlens Noel had 15. Dennis Schroeder had 22. Spurs over the Trailblazers, 113-110. Spurs came from behind and won this game. They're 3-0. Portland 2-2. DeMar DeRozan had 27 points with 7 boards. Bryn Forbes had 14 with 7 boards. LaMarcus Aldridge had 15 with 7 boards. Off the bench, Derek White had 21, and Patty Mills had 12. Meanwhile, for Portland, Damian Lillard had 28 points, 9 boards, 7 assists. C.J. McCollum, 27 points. Rodney Hood had 11 off the bench. Scala BCA had 10 with 6 boards, and Fernie Simmons had 10. Nuggets over the Kings, 101-94. Denver 3-0, Sacramento 0-4. Jamal Murray had 18 for Denver to lead the way. Nikola Jokic only had 9 with 13 boards. Will Barton had 13. Gary Harris had 17 off the bench. Mason Plumlee had 10. Meanwhile, for Sacramento, Najami Bajika had 12. Harrison Barnes had 12. De'Aaron Fox had 20 with 9 assists. Rashawn Holmes had 24. The Jazz defeat the Suns 96-95, so the Suns competitive against a good team after beating the Clippers. So maybe the Suns are better than we think. Utah's 3-1. Phoenix is 2-2. Bojan Bogdanovic had 29. Rudy Gobert had 50 with 18 boards. Donovan Mitchell had 25. Bench didn't do anything. Kelly Oubre Jr. had 18. Aaron Baines had 12. Ricky Rubio had 10 with 10 boards and 8 assists. Devin Booker had 21. Off the bench, Frank Kaminsky had 10. And Javon Carter had 15. Clippers over the Hornets 111-96. Clippers 3-1. Charlotte 1-3. Kawhi Leonard had 30 points for the Clips. Landry Shamet had 16. Off the bench, Montrezl Harrell had 19. Lou Williams had 23. Meanwhile, for Charlotte, Cody Zeller had 14. Terry Rozier had 17. PJ Washington had 11. Off the bench, Bismack Biyombo had 10. Devontae Graham had 14. And Malik Monk had 15. Only 3 games on tonight. 7:30 Hawks Heat. 9 o'clock Mavericks Nuggets. And 10:30 NBA TV Grizzlies Lakers. In terms of a play, give me the Hawks getting the 8 against Miami. I think that line is very big. I think that's a lot of respect because Jimmy Butler's back for the Heat, which is a divisional game. The Hawks have shown that they are probably better than everybody thinks. I just don't expect this to be a Heat blowout. I think the Heat will win, but I'm going to say that the Hawks cover and will have a chance to win the game at some point. So I would actually take a shot at the money line too. I don't even know what that is, but I would take a chance on the money line there to see how that would pay out. And I'm not suggesting the Hawks will win the game. I think they have a legit chance to, but I'm going to say the Heat probably win the game, but I would absolutely grab those 8 points with the Atlanta Hawks tonight. NHL. Only 2 games last night. Coyotes over the Sabres 3-2 in a shootout. Arizona is 7-3-1. Buffalo 9-2-2. The number 1 star of the game with a goal and an assist, Connor Garland. Number 2 star of the game with a goal, Jack Eichel. Number 3 star of the game with a goal and assist, Jeff Skinner. Canucks over the Panthers 7-2. This game was pretty much done in the first period. Vancouver 7-3-1. Florida 5-3-4. Number 1 star of the game with 3 assists, Elias Pettersson. Number 2 star of the game with 3 assists, Alex Seidler. Number 3 star of the game with 2 goals, JT Miller. Bigger slate tonight, 7 o'clock. You have the Sharks and the Bruins. That's a good game. Capitals Maple Leafs is a good game. Flyers Penguins is a good game as well. Obviously, rivals. Flames Hurricanes, so Dougie Hamilton and a lot of other people in a little bit of a revenge spot. Noah Hanifin, Elias Lindholm, because all those guys were involved in that big trade a few years ago. 7:30 NBCSN, Lightning Rangers. A lot of ex-Rangers returning to Madison Square Garden. On the call this game, I would assume Kenny Albert and Pierre Maguire, but I could be wrong. That just feels like a Kenny and Pierre game. Maybe Mike Milbury in the mix. I'm going to say the Lightning get it done on the road. They normally tend to win these types of games at the Garden. I think the Rangers will be competitive, unlike in the Boston game. So give me the Lightning to win. I'm going to say 4-3, and I think they get it done in overtime. I think the Rangers get a point in this game. I think they'll be competitive against some of their former teammates. I'm not sure if it's going to be Lundqvist or Georgiev in net. I'm going to assume it's Georgiev because Lundqvist has kind of struggled this year other than the Buffalo game. So I'm going to say that Georgiev gets the nod tonight. I think they're competitive here, and the Lightning get it done in overtime on a goal by Nikita Kucherov. That's my call there. Oilers, Red Wings. Oilers off to a surprising start. 8 o'clock, Blackhawks, Predators. 8:30, Wild Stars. So 2 divisional games there. See if Dallas can get a big win at home. See if Chicago can be competitive with the Predators. 10 o'clock, Jets, Ducks. Both of these teams, the Ducks have been surprising. The Jets, meanwhile, have been a little disappointing. We'll see if Anaheim can continue its surprising start to the season. Guess the lines, Week 9 NFL. some lines I was way off on, and others I hit it on the header. It came damn close. First off, Thursday night, 49ers at the Cardinals. I'm saying the Niners by 8. It's 9.5. Texans at the Jaguars. Well, it's really in London. Texans by 6. It's by 2. I guess J.J. Watt's worth a lot of points. But it's weird that that's a low line. Redskins at the Bills. I have Bills by 15.5. It's 10. Vikings at the Chiefs. I had 2 lines here for the Matt Moore line and the Mahomes line. The Matt Moore line, I have Vikings by 4.5. And the Mahomes line, I have Chiefs by 3.5. It looks like it's going to be Matt Moore, and the line is Vikings by 2.5. Jets at the Dolphins, I have Jets by 6. It's 3. So the line going in favor of the Dolphins a little bit. Bears at the Eagles, I have Eagles by 5.5. It's 5, so a half point off. Colts at the Steelers, I have Colts by 2.5. It's a pick'em. Titans at the Panthers, I have Panthers by 7. It's only 4. Lions at the Raiders, I have Raiders by 3. It's Raiders by 2. Buccaneers at the Seahawks, I have Seahawks by 7.5. It's 6.5. Browns at the Broncos, just learned that Joe Flacco will not be playing. I initially had Broncos by 1.5, but I'm going to change it to a pick'em, and it's Browns by 3. Packers at the Chargers, I have Packers by 8.5. It's only 3.5. I guess they think that Devontae Adams is worth something. It has to be, but the Packers are just so good right now. Like, how are they only 3.5 and they were like 4 or 5 at the Chiefs? I mean, I guess they were that high at the Chiefs because it's Matt Moore, but I guess the Chargers winning really convinced some people that they're back. Patriots at the Ravens, I have the Patriots by 3.5, and that's what the line is. So my first correct guess on the podcast. And then Cowboys at the Giants, I said Cowboys by 3 because the Giants have some players back, and it's Daniel Jones this time instead of Eli Manning. But no respect for the Giants as they are getting 7 against the Cowboys. And what perplexes me here is that the same Cowboys team 3 weeks ago almost went to the same stadium in a day game and lost to a worser team than the Giants. But no, the Cowboys, because they're the Cowboys and they're a better team than the Giants, get all those points and realize that they killed them earlier in the season. And the other reason why I said only 3 was because it was 7.5 in week 1 or 8. I think it might have been 8. But that was Eli Manning at quarterback and not Daniel Jones. And then I did a little bit of line movement and made some adjustments, like in terms of the Giants are a little worse than we thought and things like that. And I landed at Cowboys minus 3 because I think if they played in Dallas today that the Cowboys would be a 9-point favorite against the Giants. But no, it's if it was in Dallas, this is 13, which is lunacy to me. Jason Garrett, to me, is not that great of a head coach, and we all know that. And the fact that they're only the Cowboys are giving 7 against the Giants is just lunacy to me. So, very strange line there. I thought there was going to be a much closer line than that. Before Best Bet, we'll do my prediction for game number 6 of the World Series between the Nationals and the Astros, 8 o'clock on Fox. Joe Buck, John Smoltz, Tom Verducci, Ken Rosenthal on the call. This could very well be the last game of the season. Astros are obviously up 3-2. The Nationals are sending Steven Strasburg on the mound. The Astros are sending out Justin Verlander. Verlander settled down after a slow start in game number 2. I believe that was when he started. Yeah, because Cole went in game 1. And then Strasburg went in game number 2, and he settled down after a slow start. Astros are minus 177. The Nats are plus 155. The over-under 7.5. I think the Astros close out tonight. I said Astros in 6 before the series. I'm going to stick to my guns and take it. World Series MVP, I think, is going to be the guy who won it 2 years ago, and that's George Springer, because he's just coming up with big hit after big hit in this series. Wouldn't rule out Carlos Correa. Wouldn't rule out the catcher, Robinson Chirinos. He's had a nice series. Alex Bregman had a couple big home runs. Maybe he's the World Series MVP. There's a lot of guys, but I think it's going to be Springer. My pick before the series was Altuve, but I'm going to say that George Springer wins it for the second time in 3 years, as well as the Astros winning their second World Series championship in 3 years. So give me the Astros tonight, and I'm going to say they win this game by a score of 6-3. I think it's close. I think Ozuna is out there in the ninth inning, makes some people nervous, but gets the job done, as the Astros will win their second World Series title in a 3-year span. And now we're going to be talking about them as the dynasty that the Cubs were. A lot of people thought that the Cubs were going to be instead of the Astros, but here we are. Best bet of the day, brought to you by FanDuel. Some interesting choices on the board. We're going to take the Astros to close out tonight. We're going to take them on the money line at minus, I believe it's 177 on FanDuel, because I was just on DraftKings and looked at their line. That was inexcusable of me, because FanDuel is my sponsor for today, not DraftKings. So we are going to take the Astros. It's minus 184, by the way. Then we're going to go to the NBA. We are going to take the Lakers at home against the Grizzlies. We're going to go to hockey. And we will take the Boston Bruins at home against the Sharks. I don't feel super about this. We're going to take Tampa against the Rangers. We're going to take Nashville against the Blackhawks. And that's 5 teams, 477 odds. We're going to put 74 cents on it. And the payout is going to be, let's see, $4.27. That's it for the podcast today. I may be back later to talk about the NFL trade deadline, depending on if anything big happens. Now there's rumors that Le'Veon Bell could be on the block. That's fascinating. And it shouldn't be that surprising, because obviously the GM or head coach of the Jets, Adam Gase, didn't want him, and old GM Mike McCagnon did. And now Adam Gase obviously doesn't want Bell on the team, so it would make sense that his name is on the trade block. And plus, that team is 1-5 and going nowhere, and certainly that hurts the development of Sam Darnold in my mind. So there's cases against trading Le'Veon Bell, in my opinion. So we'll get into that and more if I do have a podcast later tonight to talk about the NFL trade deadline. So hope you guys have a great day, everybody.